Welcome to the SWAT. coming from the guy who got negative CLV. That's freaking rich. Oh, Toaster said he just said. Hey, get this. Hey, how's everyone doing? Hope you're all having a lovely evening. Happy Tuesday to you all for those watching in the morning. As far as Monday night, I got the Vikings team total over, but I also had over 43.5, so I split in that game. And I got the Falcons minus 5.5, even though they tried to give it away, those damn Falcons. I can't believe they finished that game with 16 points. So many wasted possessions, so many points left on the board, and Young Hoku isn't an NFL kicker anymore.
No,
I don't care who's feeling that hurts. He's just not through
He's been on the downtrend all season. He's in his own head. There's for sure. No question.
Yeah. 2-1 in the NFL. NBA, I went 0-2, but it looks like I might get a win here. Let me check the score. Yeah, I'd say the over's looking pretty good considering the Clippers have 91 points 4 minutes into the third quarter. So at least going to get one back in the NBA here as long as nothing goes crazy. But yeah, all right, we got 5 college basketball games to get to. North Carolina, Florida, true home game, Gainesville.
Neutral site, playing at Spectrum, which is where the Hornets play. Why are you shaking your head?
I thought you were going to say something when you shook your head. So
I was confused why you were shaking his head.
Why is North Carolina catching here?
Because they suck. That good.
Yeah.
I'm on Florida -3. It was pretty much the first bet that I made here. First of all, I do think this line is very telling. Like Sauce said, why is North Carolina catching points here? It's because they're not very good. It's plain and simple. And you have a North Carolina team that, I mean, what have they done that has impressed anybody? And I'm not talking directly to Sauce. They've played a very good schedule. Yes, they have. But every time that they've somewhat stepped up in competition, they've got absolutely annihilated. And the only time that you can only say that didn't the cake was the overtime game against Michigan State, which took like a crazy second half for them to get back into that game. And they obviously ended up losing in overtime. And then the game against Dayton, they won by 2. And again, on those Maui rims. So it's like at no point, to me, yes, North Carolina's played a very good schedule, but at no point when they've stepped up in competition have they looked good. And now they're going to be facing a Florida team that, yes, hasn't played very much, essentially hasn't played anybody. Their best win is on a neutral against Arizona State. I will give you that. But at the same time, if you take a look at what Florida's going to have to see, Florida's going to have a massive edge as far as size-wise. I don't know how North Carolina is going to get any defense or get any rebounds in this game at all. Not to mention the fact you have a Florida team that has played a lot of solid defenses come in here because that's what North Carolina hangs their hat on. They're a very, very good defensive team. I will give them that. But at the same time, Arizona State, Virginia, Wake Forest, Florida State, I mean, even Jacksonville is somewhat of a good defensive team. So I don't think that anything that North Carolina is going to throw at Florida is going to prevent them from scoring. And like I said, even if Florida is having somewhat of an off offensive night, the rebounding advantage I think is going to be +15 for Florida in this game. I just don't see how North Carolina gets second chance opportunities in this game. So unless RJ Davis goes absolutely nuclear in this game, I just don't see how Florida doesn't win this game by multiple possessions.
The Rodfather says, bet on Hubert Davis in away or neutral games off a home blowout win by 20 points or more. His record in such instances as head coach of North Carolina, 9-1 against the spread. So the Rodfather is on the heels. Andy, are you with Toast?
Can I say one thing before Andy goes? Part of this, too, is that I want to play on on North Carolina their next game at UCLA because I think both those teams they're going to lose this game, and I think we're going to get North Carolina at a really good price against UCLA, and those teams match up a little bit well. But sorry, go ahead.
He said a lot of it. The size advantage is always going to be there for Florida, and there's very few games where they're not going to have the size advantage this season on their schedule. That's just kind of how Todd Golden builds his team. He wants to be taller than you, and North Carolina is unusually small for a power conference team. And I know the popular opinion would be RJ Davis would be best player on the court in a lot of instances. I don't even think he's the best guard on the court. I think Walter Clayton's a better player than him. I think that he's going to have a better game. I think that the team overall, Florida, significantly better. I think this would be a comfortable win for them. I know you look at the schedule and you see Arizona State, Virginia, Wake Forest, and Florida State. Those are the 4 best teams they've played. They've won every single one of them by double digits. They've won every single game by double digits this year. I mean, I don't like this Florida team at all, obviously, right? I'm very against it. Don't like their coach. The team's really, really talented. They're a top 10 team for a reason. They've won every game by double digits, like I said. They've been comfortable against every opponent they've played. Yes, this is the best opponent, but again, like Toast said, North Carolina has been uncomfortable against the good teams on their schedule. So, yeah, I like Florida a lot here. They made me feel stupid the other day when I took Arizona State against them. They ran Arizona State, who is a good team, a very good team, in fact, and they ran them off the floor. There was no shot they were winning that game. It was a 17-point win at the end. So, yeah, I like Florida a lot there.
That's what sold me. That Arizona State game is what sold me. I had Florida picked in my Final Four at the beginning of the year, and I thought it was dead with Golden and all this stuff going on, but they just continued to roll. And for me, I was on Arizona State as well, and I thought that game would be a coin flip, and it was never even close.
I want to take the other side. North Carolina plus 3.5, better program. I mean, now that Florida is on the rebuild, now that they got rid of the anchor that was Mike White, so maybe this Florida program is on the come up a bit.
January 3rd and February 23rd. Don't worry, we'll get.
Yeah, better program. North Carolina plus 3.5. I don't know shit about these teams, but that's the play.
Well, it was also like a de facto home game for them. They're playing it in Charlotte, so I do think that is part of it. That will play into it a little bit, but
I thought that original line was quite telling.
Yeah.
Disagree. Hard disagree there.
Hard disagree.
I'm about to hard disagree on this one too. Oh wait, no, Andy's on the right side. Toast is on the wrong side of this.
This one,
all right.
Saw
Toast. Oh, you want to go first, Andy? All right.
Yeah, I saw this line and I was shocked. I think we're getting a little bit of the fact that the game's in South Carolina. That's why the line opened at 1.5. Look, I think South Carolina is the worst team in the SEC. I think they're a bad basketball team. What have they done that impresses you? Right there, they're good wins so far. East Carolina by 7, BC by 22. BC is awful. Virginia Tech, they're one of the worst teams in the power conference. This year, they beat them by 10 on a neutral. Like, they haven't done anything impressive. They stepped up a couple times, had to play Indiana, Xavier. They got wiped out by both of those teams. They also lost to North Florida, but again, that was early. That was the first game of the year, so I don't really fault them for that. But it just really, they took so many hits in the portal. It seems clearly not as good as they were last year, and I think Clemson coming off a loss is really good for them. I think that helps them a lot. They also played in overtime in that game, so it's not like they got wiped out by Memphis. They were competitive in that game. Yeah, I just think this is a great bounce back spot. I know it's a road game, but again, I don't really see a home court advantage to South Carolina here for this one. So, yeah, I like I'm Clemson here. I don't think South Carolina will be very competitive in a lot of these upcoming games. Their schedule, they have all quad 1 and quad 2 games from here on out after December. So this is just the beginning of a gauntlet for them.
Bigelow's in the comments. He says Florida's overvalued in the spot. Trust me, Kyle. Tar Heels live on the money line. Charlotte's an hour away from me. We travel. So I guess he's a North Carolina fan, Bigelow. I'm doing that. I'm betting North Carolina. In this one, almost every single person watching is clicking Clemson on the poll, though. So, I mean, not knowing too much. I haven't been following college basketball very closely, but I would imagine this is looking like a heavy public side. Not that should scare you off or anything. But it looks like everyone loves Clemson here. And you guys know Clemson on the road I'm in. Clemson Road Warriors. So Toast is the only man standing on a Gamecock Island by himself.
I think I can get Scoop on the Cock Island with me. No problem.
Wait, you talk to Scoop? You talk to Scoop, Andy?
Just texting. Yeah.
What is he on?
Cox.
Well, I think here, I mean, I don't know if he actually bet it, but he did say that he was a, quote, Coxman himself, is what Scoop said.
He's a Coxman.
So, okay. So, first of all, I can't argue about South Carolina. First of all, I played this plus 1.5. That's how much I like South Carolina. I do think that original line, very similar to the first game that we talked about, gives us a little bit of insight on how Ozbakers view this game. I can't really punch holes against this Clemson team. I really can't. I mean, they have some really good wins and some really weird losses. I mean, I'm not weird losses, but losses that you can get over, like obviously Boise State and Memphis. I just think that this is I don't really like the spot for them. I think this is a sandwich type spot game where you just played a Memphis team and then you have a pretty big game at home against Wake Forest on Saturday. And now you're playing this South Carolina team that, yeah, they're a bad basketball team, but at the same time, I would argue that they're just as good offensively as Clemson. If not, I mean, I don't think that there's a huge gap there. I mean, maybe Clemson's a little bit more talented and Clemson's a little bit bigger, so they rebound better. But at the same time, I don't trust this Clemson offense in a half court. And if I can get this South Carolina team to do what they've been doing all season, which is play through their defense, I think that they can make this game a crawl and make Clemson beat them in the half court. And if that's the case, I'll take my chances getting plus 1.5. Would I like to get 3 or whatever like the line is now? Yeah, I would. But I actually think that South Carolina can win this game. I think this is a great game for Colin Murray Boyles. I think that he could really, really go off in this game. But yeah, I just think that as soon as I saw at plus 1.5, I thought that this game was kind of going to be weird. I think that this is going to be one of those games where the world bets Clemson at a really short price, and then we have a whole bunch of Clemson Tiger shit talk at the end of the night because South Carolina is going to make this game a crawl, and you're going to ask the Hunter brothers to do something together, and it's just not going to work out.
Toast, can you tap your mic real quick? I think your audio's your audio's coming in through your computer, not your microphone. Do you know how to switch that?
Yeah.
All right, cool. Real quick, we have the Rodfather says bet on Clemson in away or neutral games versus very good teams. Teams that outscore their opponents by 8+ points or more a game. 8 points or more a game. Clemson's record since the 2023 season in those instances, 15-4 against the spread. You love to see it.
I wish that somebody could get my record.
Oh, that's way better.
Oh, sorry. Yeah. I mean, yeah.
Yeah. And real quick, I want to give a shout out to None Like Me in the comments because on the live show earlier, Lindy gave out Cade Cunningham over 9.5 assists, and he threw out there. He goes, Cade Cunningham triple-double. I'm trying to gamble. That shit hit.
I tailed that.
Oh, did you? Yeah, that shit.
No, because that was like the one part of the show I watched, and Lindy had 9+ assists. Somebody else in our Discord had Cade for a double-double at minus 130, and I was like, fuck it, I'll throw $30 on a triple-double or something.
Yeah, that shit hit. Rod also says he likes the under in this game, by the way, which is kind of what you said. But I mean, 135 is low. Holy shit.
That's what I'm saying. Like, they're gonna make this game an absolute crawl. The only thing that worries me is this game is close and it's gonna be free throws at the end, and that's a huge difference. That's a huge advantage to Clemson. But yeah, we'll see.
South Carolina, if they get to play the game their way, there will be like 120 points. I don't give their way, but yeah.
All right, let's move on to the next one.
This one.
Which one?
Seton Hall, Big East ball.
This is Andy's special. Under, right? Under 127? No?
It's at 120. Yeah. It's at 126.5 now.
Did you see how Seton Hall lost the other day?
Hold on. So wait. This is at 126.5, and Seton Hall's catching 8.5, which means Seton Hall's team total, quick math, is going to be at Is that going to be at 60?
Probably something like that.
58.5.
Speaking of their last game, I wish I was there because last time me and Sauce went to a basketball stadium, we saw his brother hit a buzzer beater, and against the new brother Dylan hit a buzzer beater against Seton Hall to win it.
2 ways you could look at that. Why did it take Rutgers a buzzer beater to beat Seton Hall? And wow, that was really cool. They won by a buzzer beater. That's because
I don't think that Rutgers is very good.
They're not. I don't think they are.
Whoa! No need.
Dude, that kills me, dude. Trust me, it kills me to say that. But
everyone wanted them to be really good, but they're just all like they're flash and they're fun, but there's a lot of issues there.
I was gonna say the pounding nails Steve Peichel team, they're not pounding any nails. They're asking people to do it for them.
I mean, just from the perspective of Seton Hall's awful. They scored 63 in that game. That was like an offensive explosion for them. Other than their game against Oklahoma State, who can't play any defense, Seton Hall scored 67 on NJIT. 51, 61, 60, 69, 54 against Wagner. Like, this is an awful offensive basketball team. So I would be on Villanova. They went to Villanova last year, lost by 30. In this very situation, it was on a Sunday. I remember it very well because I wanted to bet Seton Hall, but I couldn't. I was really excited. Thought Seton Hall could win the game. It was over by halftime. Kyle Neptune at this point pretty much needs to win every Big East game for this team. I mean, it's been an issue for them. I feel bad for Seton Hall. I can't bet this, but I think Seton Hall is probably going to be the last place team in the Big East, and that's saying something. I feel bad for them. They have the right coach, but unfortunately, they just don't have the resources. This team has no talent on it whatsoever. Like, it is a very bad basketball team, and I think they're going to struggle to score. So their team total under is most likely going to hit in this game. If they get into the 50s, I'd be genuinely surprised in a lot of their
into the
games.
50s.
Yes, dude, this is a bad basketball team.
Is this game in Philly?
Yeah.
It's at Panarin or whatever in Villanova.
It's at their actual gym.
Yeah.
It's in a gym.
Yeah, Seton Hall's about to get fucking run up, man.
Yeah. I played the under at 127. I'm trying to find that team total for you now just to see if it's posted or not. But either way, both of these teams, two of the slowest teams in the country. And the only reason that I wouldn't play on Villanova is that I just don't think that what we've seen from Villanova makes them an 8-point favorite against pretty much anybody in the country that has somewhat of a pulse. Not again, Seton Hall is bad, but they're like 135 in the country. It's not like they're like Fairleigh Dickinson or some of these other teams that Villanova has beat up on. So I don't really know. The only game that, as far as Temple's schedule, that has me thrown is that Temple game, because I know there's a lot of rivalry there and whatnot, but I actually thought that Temple could win that game outright, and they lost by almost 30, I think it was. So again, Villanova, I just cannot lay multiple possessions with this team. Have they looked good the last 4 or 5 games? Sure, but besides that, I mean, that 1-point loss to Maryland, I guess that could have went either way, and maybe their season looks a little bit different, but I'm not laying multiple possessions with this Villanova team, that's for sure.
I always say this with college football. College athletics isn't transactional. These two teams have 2 common opponents this year. One of them was NJIT. One of them beat NJIT by 38. One of them beat them by 11. Not transactional.
2 double-digit wins. Fuck that.
They beat.
Not transactional. You said it yourself.
Be impressive. 355th ranked team in the country.
Can we hear what Rodfather has to say?
Can we please?
He says, bet on Villanova against poor shooting teams that make 42% or less of their field goal attempts. Villanova's record since last season, 6-0 against the spread in those instances. So it looks like the Rodfather's on Nova with us. Next. James Madison, Wake Forest. Interesting pick here, Andy. James Madison basketball game.
We're both on the same side, too.
Oh, is that why?
We didn't know it, but I didn't know it, but we do now.
You guys both bet this game?
Yep. I mean, I did. I don't know if he did.
Yeah, I did.
Oh, okay.
All right,
first
let's
one.
hear it.
Go ahead.
What are you guys on?
I like James Madison. I think James Madison could win the game. It's a little light. One of the things that I like in this. Hold on, let me pull up my notes. The truth is about this Wake Forest team, they're not good. That's the number one thing. Wake Forest is not a good basketball team, and I'm not saying James Madison's great. They're not. But they've stepped up a couple of times and had to play, George Mason, who's randomly a top 100 team in the country. Let me see.
UC San Diego.
Yeah, UC San Diego. They've had a couple of games where they had to play good teams or decent teams, and they fared somewhat well. But for me, this is more just a fate of Wake Forest. I don't think this is a good team. I know it's a home game, but a lot of what they want to do is honestly what James Madison's really good at defending. They're really good. They're really good at defending the things that they want to do. A lot of Wake Forest points come off free throws. I don't expect many fouls from James Madison. So the rebound, honestly, you would think there's going to be a big height advantage, but because the game's going to be such a crawl, I don't think there's going to be many extra possessions for Wake Forest. So, yeah, I think it's going to be like a 1 or 2 possession game here, and I think at 7.5 you're getting that. I think it opened. I got it at 8, so I mean It's not a big deal there, but yeah, I like James Madison. I would love to hear what Toast has to say.
Sounds like Toast on the same side. So VW in the comments says he likes the under here. Rod still talking about the last game. Never mind. So Toast, you're on James Madison as well.
Yeah, I am. First of all, I just don't understand
Wait,
what
real
world.
Quick, is this the number you guys got it at? Can I get this right now?
I got 8 too, but 7.5 is fine. Yeah, same difference. So for me, in what world is Wake Forest an 8-point favorite against anybody with a pulse? Again, they had a close game against Michigan. It was a 2-point game. Xavier, who's 61st, that was a 15-point game and a loss. Florida, obviously 7th, not way better than James Madison, a loss. Texas A&M, a loss. Minnesota, a 6-point game. Boston College, an 8-point game. I mean, I think that James Madison, I don't want to say that James Madison is good as those teams, but I also don't think that they're much worse than those teams either. I mean, James Madison's still a top 120 team in the country. They can play offensively really well. They're going to make this game an absolute crawl, which is something that Wake Forest likes to do. But like Andy said, that's what James Madison does, and they do it better. Not to mention the fact that James Madison enjoys rebounding the ball. There's effort there. Wake Forest doesn't rebound for shit. Oh, and by the way, the free throws and the size that Andy talked about, yeah, but James Madison is one of the best teams in the country and not fouling. So yes, there's a size advantage for Wake Forest, but at the same time, everything else tells me James Madison. The only thing that I worry about is James Madison as far as turnovers are concerned. But at the same time, like if there's there's a couple guys on Wake Forest, and a couple of them I know really well, and one of them is Hunter Silas, and he's not a guy that right now that I'm worried about turning the ball over, or getting turnovers. So he's had a couple of the last few games, but besides that, he's done jack shit. He had a couple 3-steal games. I think it was against Detroit Mercy and somebody else, but those numbers are skewed. Again, like I said at the very start, in what world is Wake Forest an 8-point favorite against anybody with a pulse? I'm more than happy to take my multiple possessions with James Madison, which, by the way, James Madison, this is going to be one of, if not their biggest game left on their schedule. I don't know another game on their schedule. I looked really quickly. I don't know if there's another bigger game on the schedule for their whole year, by the way. This might be their biggest game of the season, unless they were in like conference play for seeding and whatnot. But as far as like just name value, this Wake Forest game on the road is probably their biggest game of the year.
Yeah, the only game left they have is Arkansas. The only game left near where Wake Forest is ranked is Arkansas State at 108. So like, yeah, you're right. This is the best team left on their schedule for sure.
So Sunbelt's just ass in basketball.
There's a couple of decent teams. Troy's a good team, but they're not. None of them are to the level where
I was going to say. I'm curious to see what Arkansas State's going to do. We're not going to get on a Sunbelt State tangent, but I do think that Arkansas State's a pretty decent basketball team.
Arkansas State's probably going to be last year's James Madison. I think they could pull an upset.
Could be, yeah.
What did James Madison do last year? Oh, I remember. Right. So I have a couple here from the Rodfather, and you guys are going to like both of them. So, by the way, I just bet James Madison. I'm telling you guys, I just posted in the Discord. I'm riding. I couldn't get an 8, though. I only found 7.5, minus 108. First, Rod says, bet against Wake Forest as home favorites or pick 'em. Wake Forest records this year as a home favorite. 0-6 against the spread as a home favorite, Wake Forest?
Dude, they're terrible. They are terrible. I'm telling you.
Damn, that's ugly.
They're not. They Detroit Mercy, they beat them by 10 at home. Detroit Mercy is one of the worst teams in the country. There's a 300 by their name.
Dude, remember when Detroit Mercy last year, everyone kept betting against them every single game? They lost like 30 basketball games in a row or something. All right, so the second one he posted, bet on James Madison on the money line. After 4 straight games committing 14 or less turnovers, James Madison's record since last season in those instances, 15-3 straight up. So it looks like the Rodfather's with the word James Madison program today.
Hell yeah.
You mentioned it's interesting. You mentioned the Detroit Mercy game. The one that I think is funnier to me, they beat USC Upstate 85-80 at home. They give 80 points to USC Upstate at home. How does that happen?
And they're worse than Detroit Mercy. That's the touche, Andy. I didn't catch that one.
They lost their football coach today. So happens.
Next up is DePaul St. John. You know the Detroit Mercy game I remember? It was Detroit Mercy Green Bay. And for whatever reason, everyone was talking about that game that day. We even had yeah, we did. We put it on the show, and I was like, why? For some reason, everyone, like all the sports betting YouTube shows, were all talking about that basketball game.
I remember Detroit Mercy was favored.
Right.
And they were like 0-21.
Yes.
And we all were, I was like, why are they being favored? So we all took Green Bay, and Green Bay won the game.
Yeah, I remember that. All right, so last one we're going to go through tonight is a Big East battle. So I thought DePaul looked better this year, plus 12.5. Obviously, the Johnnies are pretty official. Is this one, where's this game at? MSG?
Carneseca. I'm curious to see what Andy says because he knows St. John's better than I do.
Real quick, someone asked Broncos Chargers over under. Let me look at the total. I already bet the Chargers in that game. By the way, I like it at -3.
Can you tell me really quickly? Was that just off of what you saw from Denver late? And
it's just a beautiful spot for like all things considered.
I thought so.
So Denver, if you look at their recent results, they've won 4 games in a row, but it was against the Panthers, the Giants, the Raiders, and then who the hell they just play? The Browns.
Colts.
Oh, the Colts. Oh, the Browns. The Browns are in there as well. Played a lot of shitty teams, and the final scores of these Broncos games is just not indicative of how they look.
Yeah.
They just won the game, like 31-13? They just won that game comfortably. They had like 180 yards of offense. So you look at the Browns' recent results, and it looks like, wow, Denver's doing good. They're winning all these games. A, they're playing shitty teams, and B, they don't look nearly as good as these final scores indicate. So against a Chargers team, short week, they have to travel. So, you tend to lean towards the home team on those Thursday night games. Not that that's a foolproof system, but you got the Chargers in LA on a short week, and you get the Chargers coming off a really fucked up loss. I mean, they got their asses beat, and they still set them up as 3-point favorites. I don't know as far as timing the line. I took it at -3. I don't know if a 2.5 will flash. I mean, I thought personally that I anticipate the quote-unquote sharp money to be on the Chargers. So maybe who knows? Maybe if you wait it out, you can get a 2.5. I personally didn't care. I took the Chargers at -3 already. But this isn't an NFL show. Let's talk DePaul, St. John's.
I tailed you, but that's why I asked, because I knew that half of their points came from our non-points. Jonathan Taylor dropped a touchdown. There was a pick 6 on some fucking weird ass play.
Yeah. I guess I just insulted Dom's team. He says, I was just praising you, man. Don't hate on the Super Bowl winner. Is he a Broncos fan? All right.
Broncos would pay me out. Anyway, St. John's, DePaul. Andy, what do you think about this? Because I'm not going to play DePaul because it's December and that's Chris Holtman. But
no, I think they're gonna run off the floor.
Okay, I thought so too, but I don't know. I'm not laying fucking 13 with
St. John's. Respectfully, they're one of the most underrated teams. Honestly, they're being disrespected. Look at the 2 losses that this team has so far.
Oh my God! Here comes the Georgia love.
Lost to Baylor, and then a game against Georgia where they shot 11% from 3. St. John's isn't going to shoot 11% from 3 at all again this year. It's not going to happen. That was a weird, sloppy game. They could have won it. Anybody could have won that game. And then the Baylor loss, they had the game won. They were up by 4 with 40 seconds left. They should have won that game. So those are their 2 losses. Again, both top 40 teams as well. So they have no bad losses. They've pretty much whipped up everybody they've needed to beat by a lot. They whipped Harvard. They beat Kansas State pretty comfortably, although they're not that good. They beat Bryant by 22. They're just beating the heck out of everybody else. And what have we known about DePaul? They're not playing the good teams well, right? They played Texas Tech. They didn't look great. Providence, in that game was a weird one. It went to overtime, so they were somewhat competitive. St. John's is miles better than Providence. Providence is probably the 3rd worst team in the Big East this year. So on their home floor, DePaul's not going to be able to shoot the way they've shot this year. I know that St. John's numbers against the 3 aren't great this year, but I mean, at home against DePaul, they run a much faster pace. That I love the pace advantage. I mean, this is very significant. St. John's is 18th in average possession length. DePaul's 264th. This is a home game for St. John's. They should be able to get whatever they want. They also have the size advantage. They're 45th in average height, St. John's. DePaul's 156. Everything points to St. John's to me. I think that we're going to see vintage. I hope now I'm going to bet St. John's, so I do hope so. I do hope DePaul's a little bit better because I like Coach Holtman, and I think that it's actually fun that they're somewhat competitive. But I think we're going to see an old school DePaul getting whipped by a Big East team. So I think the number's much lower than I would make it. I think that St. John's is 15 to 20 points better than this DePaul team. I think we're getting a little early season value from DePaul because they've had such a good start. But I don't think this will be competitive at any point.
Rod's talking about the Broncos in that. I've read that 3 times. I thought he was talking about college basketball. But anyway, Rod's got one for this game. He said, bet against DePaul versus dominant rebounding teams. Out-rebounding opponents by 7+ per game. DePaul's record since last year, 0-6 against the number. So it looks like Rod's on St. John's as well.
You're stealing my notes, Rod. That's the 2nd bullet point. Hell of a job. Hell of a job. The rebounding edge for St. John is absolutely massive. Andy touched on it as far as the pace is concerned. I just don't agree with his take on St. John's being an undervalued team. again, they've played nobody. I don't think that Baylor is as good as what people are making the Baylor out to be. I think that that's a very big name brand, but I still think that Baylor is barely a top 25 team, especially with the injury issues. Maybe, Andy, that Georgia loss looks a lot better as we go deeper into the season. But I will give you that Georgia's a legit top 25 team, or at least they should be. Did they get any votes today, Andy? I'm dead serious. I didn't even vote.
Real quick, they lost 3 votes. They won a neutral game against Grand Canyon, and we went from 21 votes to 18. It's a joke. The AP poll is a freaking joke, dude.
Okay, that is a joke. I will give you that. It's funnier than shit, but that's a joke. Anyway.
It's probably you probably just don't understand how it works, Andy.
Oh my god, that's funny. Well, they beat a pretty. I mean, what sucks is Grand Canyon looked like shit again today. That's what sucks for them.
Dude.
But anyway, huge rebounding veg. The only thing that I wanted, I missed my notes, but the only thing that I wanted to say is that this will be a pretty decent offense that St. John's is seeing, and so I can see if this game is up and down and St. John's is controlling the pace like I do. DePaul can shoot. The issue with DePaul is, and I think Andy hit the nail on the head with this one. I think that you're going to start getting a little bit of value betting against DePaul. Maybe it starts here, maybe against Northwestern, but God, that team's bad too. But anyway, regardless, DePaul has beat up on some very, very bad teams. And the way that they've shot as far as over 40% as a team, that's best for 10th in the country. I don't think that lasts nearly. I think that number is going to get cut down significantly when they start seeing teams like St. John's and Connecticut and Villanova and Seton Hall and Xavier, because Seton Hall can't score, but they can defend. So Marquette. So I think Andy hit the nail on the head with that. There's just no way I can lay this much with St. John's, just because, again, I don't feel the same way about St. John's as Andy does.
Oh, you said you can't lay this much. I thought you said St.
John's.
John's.
It'd be St. John's or pass. Sorry. I'm not going to bet it because I don't feel as strongly about St. John's, but I do think that they should win this game pretty easily.
Someone said in the comments, you ever thought about getting into NHL? I mean, it's about time. I would love to. Hockey's a great sport. Love watching hockey. Would love to handicap it and get into it. It's just when it's on. I have right now college football, finally regular season's over, so I can really dive into the NBA. But then we get into January, and I start doing college basketball with these guys. I do like handicapping videos for college basketball. We were doing those last year, and so it's just a matter of time. You know what? If NHL was on during the summer, which obviously it's not a summer sport, but it was on during the summer, and Toes could do baseball and I would do NHL, I think I would. But the time that it's on, I have to do NBA. I'm the only one that's in our group that does NBA. So I literally I carry NBA.
I didn't even think about that.
Yeah, Toast, Andy, Scoop, they all do college basketball. I'm the only one that does NBA. So I pretty much NBA is a lot less involved as far as the volume than college basketball. But I do NBA by myself for this time of year. So no time. All right, let's do a quick.
Oh yeah, well, while we do the bet, I'll say it. The top bet.
Oh wait, you what?
Well, no, you could start the community top bet. I was just going to mention one more thing about DePaul is the teams that they've played. He nailed it on that. They've played the highest ranked team that they've beaten besides Wichita State, who's not a good basketball team, is 203rd Duquesne. So like they've been whipping absolutely nobody. They also have a close game against Southern Indiana in there. So they've been good. They've been better because those are games that they were actually losing last year, but they are not like they haven't actually reached to the point where I think that they should be in a competitive game with St. John. So.
Also, to that point about the Wichita State game, because I had that wrote down in my notes too. DePaul shot 51% from that game from deep. Like that's not going to happen here on the road. Again, yeah, I think they got, and I was on DePaul last game. I felt very good because they won by 20. But they also, it's like Wichita State didn't even play the second half of that game. It was an absolute.
That Wichita State team is 8-2. They have a 4-point win over Monmouth. They have a 6-point win over Northern Iowa. They have a 7-point win over Western. Like they don't have a lot of great wins. Like that Wichita State team's not that good either.
They scored 8 points. Wichita State scored 8 points in the final, I think 10 minutes of that game. Absolute joke.
They're not a good team. They are not. They're 8-2, but a lot of that's based on who they've played because they have a game against Friends coming up. Who is Friends?
I don't know.
Non-ranked game against Friends University. What
Friends? Duh, it's Friends, bro.
Friends, man.
Tell me you don't know ball, Andy.
Rod, I think you're on the wrong side of that, by the way. I like the Chargers. I don't think the Broncos are very good, and I think they've been skating by, getting these wins against some really bad teams. I think it's a wake-up call. Bo Nix has looked terrible, bro. Terrible.
At some point, you got to be getting value, too, because I know for a fact, because I've been betting them, the Broncos are like 10-2 ATS or something crazy like that. They've been covering everything that they do.
Yeah.
Am I crazy that I like the Steelers plus 6.5 on Saturday already?
Dude, why even worry about that game? Just play Boswell kicking points and just cash your money out.
I believe the phrase is set it and forget it.
This is true. I mean,
well, it's Steelers-Ravens, so that means I want to take an under because that series has gone – it's like 12-2 to the under. It doesn't matter how they're playing. Last game, both quarterbacks were on fire. Teams were averaging like 38 points per game. No final score, 16-10? They just always go under, those two teams.
That's going to be weird because that one's Saturday night. I'm not even going to – well, we'll have it on, but I can't believe that they're going head-to-head with the college football.
Wait, you're going away again?
No. We'll have the game on, but like I'm fully going to be focused on – I think at that time Texas. Oh, no, that's the night game. Ohio State, Tennessee. That's going to be an ass whooping.
Yeah, there's 3 games on Saturday.
I'm playing Ohio State.
Someone asked about the Chiefs game. I would assume the line is pretty telling that Patrick Mahomes is not going to play. I honestly still would go Chiefs. I haven't done a full I haven't gone through the game fully yet. I'll do a video on it and everything, but I'm not laying points with CJ Stroud on the road. They're not going to be able to run the ball. The Chiefs' run defense is good. The Chiefs' run defense is good. Kansas City may be able to run the ball a little bit, maybe not, but should be a defensive game, an ugly game in the cold. CJ Stroud's look like shit in the road. I mean, plus 2.5. Those 2.5 points might come in handy in a 17-16 final score.
Hey, Andy.
Yeah.
Did you look at Drake, Kansas State?
I couldn't find anything in that game. I have some bets for tomorrow. That one, I can't trust either team because I do like Drake, but I think they've had a little bit of a fluky, right? That Charleston Classic is kind of still in everybody's heads. But also, Kansas State's not good. So
Kansas State is terrible, and it's not even in the Octagon of Doom. So it's like I don't even worry about them being at home. Like, it's a joke.
I have
Drake wins.
So Toast, the community hates your South Carolina pick because they're.
I know, and I love that. Makes me. I'm gonna rebet it at 3 and on the money line too.
So basically, you're saying fuck you to the community.
Pretty much. I'm telling you guys that number's wrong. I'll take my chances.
Oh, I was gonna ask you. Did you look at North Florida, UNC Asheville?
Man, of course, yeah, I looked at it. I don't really.
First, 2 things. Why are they playing again? This is gonna be the
that
second.
Was another thing. I was like, "What the fuck is going on?"
So that made it difficult. The number's 158.5. I took the under. All UNC Asheville wants to do is shoot 2s, and North Florida's not going to be able to shoot the way they were shooting early in the season on the road at Asheville. Asheville already beat them by a lot. I think that game's heavily under tomorrow. So that was That's my.
I was going to say
8.5 too. It's a very high number for a.
I really wanted to play on North Florida. I didn't know how many points I was going to get. I would need like at least a full possession, but at the same time, they got Florida on deck. Asheville has like some nobody on deck. I don't know.
Non-ranked.
I don't like the fact that they've just played within a week. I know it hasn't been a week. It's been like a month, but regardless.
Played a month ago. First of all, why are they playing twice in the early part?
I honestly don't know. I thought I was reading it wrong, and then I was just like, you know what?
Yeah.
Whatever. Problem is North Florida can't shoot free throws. So.
All right, the community top bet is Clemson. Got a few things I need to get done before bed, so let me get to it. Everyone, thanks for watching. Be back same time tomorrow, 4 p.m. and then at midnight. We got midnight streams all week, guys.
I think just tomorrow. It's a very late on Thursday, Friday. So.
And then after Christmas, we get into the full where we can do the Saturday shows. Those are fucking awesome.
Yeah, that's gonna be fun.
All right, cool. And also, I got to text Scoop, see what's going on with him. I know he's going through some shit. I would like to get him back on as well. So, all right, cool. Thanks, everyone, for watching. See you all tomorrow, 4 p.m. Eastern time. I also have a video up going through Memphis, West Virginia. If you're trying to bet a bowl game, I uploaded a video for that. That's on YouTube already. So, see everyone tomorrow. Later.
Go Cox.